Hi, in this episode I would be explaining trial balance. Trial balance is one of the controlling systems in accounting, and it's very important we understand what we should do about it before we prepare financial statements. So, trial balance is a statement that is prepared to test the arithmetical accuracy of ledger balances extracted. So let's break it down. It tests accuracy of ledger balances. So we have ledger balances extracted. So in the procedure of double entry system, double accounts for every transaction must have been recorded. So this account at the end of the period would be balanced, and the balance would be brought down. Those balances in each of the accounts would be extracted, that's taken out in the trial balance. So trial balance, from the word trial, tries to check if all the balances are accurate, which means if everything is prepared accurately, the total debit side of the trial balance will be equal to the total credit side. It tests the system that you had used to put entries in the debit side and put entries in the credit side accordingly. However, trial balance may balance and yet there had been some errors, which means trial balance does not always reveal all errors. But to a large extent, trial balance could help fish out many errors. So, trial balance, in summary, lists and extracts balances from ledgers and tests how accurate they are. For a brief recap, trial balance looks at all the entries in the debit and all the entries in the credit. The entries in the debit are the assets. They would be in the debit side. All expenses would be in the debit side. For credit side, all the equity of a business will be in the credit side. The liabilities of a business will be in the credit side. The income or revenue would be in the credit side. So the total debit, drawings will be in the debit side. Drawings or withdrawals would be in the debit side. All the debit entries will add it up at the end of the period. Then all the credit entries will add it up at the end of the period. Then we compare. If the total of debit side is equal to the total of the credit side, then we can presume the accounts are accurate. Meanwhile, there might still be some errors which will be treated at another episode. That's errors which affect and errors which do not affect trial balance agreement. Now, I'll mention those errors briefly now. The errors that would not affect trial balance agreement are error of omission, which means a transaction was ultimately omitted, so the accounts will still balance. We have error of commission. That means there is an error which committed a certain individual to another person. Usually when individuals or businesses have similar names and they trade with a business. For instance, Atco ADCO Enterprise is a customer of the business. Then Atco ADKO is another customer. When Atco ADCO has a transaction with the business, there is a chance that it is taken for ADKO because of similar name. This is an error of commission because Atco ADCO is a customer and Atco ADKO is also a customer. Whatever happens with them in a transaction would not affect the side of an account that you had recorded it for, which means the trial balance will still balance. Then we have the error of principal. This happens when the category of a transaction is misplaced for another category, but the same side. For instance, if there is a repair of an asset and that's an expense, which is in the debit side. If it is recorded for repair asset account, you repaired an asset, it should be in repairs expense account. But if it's mistakenly recorded in the asset account, which is also in debit side, the trial balance will still balance, but yet there is an error. Then we have error of original entry. Error of original entry is an error which deals with figures. 769, for instance, recorded as 796 can happen occasionally. If this happens in the two sides of your entries, then the account will still balance. You recorded 769 for sales to a certain customer. Sales account recorded 769 instead of 796. The customer's account also, you record 769 instead of 796. The account will still balance, but yet there is an error. Then we have error of complete reversal. Error of complete reversal means in a transaction where there are two entries, the side that should be debited, you put it in credit, and the account that you should credit, you put it in debit. The entries will still balance off. This is error of complete reversal. The one that you should credit, you debited mistakenly. The one that you should debit, you credited mistakenly. The account will still balance. Then the last error that would not affect trial balance agreement is compensating errors. The compensating error is an error which is not revealed because there were two or more errors which happen to cross out each other. If you made a one-sided error in a transaction and it affects debit side, for instance, by let's say $20, and you made another one-sided error in another transaction which affects the credit side with the same amount, $20, it means that the $20 mistake in the debit side here, undercast, will cross out $20 mistake in the credit side, undercast. If it is also overcast, that's too much amount, higher than normal amount. If it is overcast of $20 in debit side of one transaction, one-sided, and another transaction, separate transaction, has $20 credit overcast. Overcast means, for instance, you want to record 200 and you recorded 220. That is an overcast error in a transaction, which means they will cross out each other. The trial balance will still balance. Which means trial balance may show the same amount for debit and credit, yet not showing some errors. This correction of errors is to be treated in our next episode. However, the summary of this episode is about trial balance, which tests the accuracy of ledger balances extracted. And since they are extracted, it reveals that the entries you've made in your ledger accounts in the debit side are equal, like the total debit side equaling total credit side shows that entries you have made are accurate to a large extent. You further are expected to check the errors that are not even revealed in trial balance, which I have just explained. So if there is any question about trial balance and the summary of it thereof, you can write the question in the comment. It will be responded to accordingly. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.